Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and I am your host, BMR. As always, I'm joined by the bearded one Tex. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, hit the alert bell, and share with friends. You can find us on YouTube at Texas Front Porch. You can also find Odyssey Radio, iRadio, and KPN Radio, PLN Radio, so we're all podcasts are found, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Spreaker. We're on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. You can also reach us by email at paircryptidencounters@gmail.com or by text at 972-559-0988. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube to Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you enjoy our content and support us, the Super Chat is always open, and you can Venmo us at @text6717. Thank you, and enjoy the show. And I'm going to bring up Tex here in a second. Also, for those of you listening live on iHeartRadio and on Odyssey Radio, you catch the first hour live. Then you've got to subscribe over to Texas Front Porch or Bigfoot Michigan Rob to catch the second half. We have a great show in store for you here today. I'm going to bring up Tex and we'll get into it.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not a whole lot.
You know, we have a great guest on tonight, and he's sending me a message. And Will is having problem trying to find the link. He says he has no link to put on, and I guess we're gonna have to resend him the link.
What's his email? I'll take care of it real quick.
I'm gonna get his email from him right now because I sent it to him on Messenger, and then we'll get that taken care of. While Tex is doing that, thanks for joining the show, everybody. We have the Fouke monster hunter, William Lunsford, as soon as we make a connection with him to join us here today. And so, Tex, while you're doing that, what's the good word, man? What's been going on lately?
Well, man, I've got a lot of people wanting to go out in the brush, and we've got, I was having a conversation with a great friend of the channel, a longtime friend of mine, Keith, and me, him, and Randy are looking at doing a river expedition. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in we're looking at the Brazos River, and we're looking at traveling 20 or 30 miles down the river. Night vision set up, the whole 9 yards. So, and we can just jump out if we hear something, or if we see something, or if the place just looks, interesting, we can land the boat and we can, go investigate and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to it. But other than that, we've got people that want to go to Brown Springs, and everybody's asking me, when are we going to go? When are we going to go? I said, well, my same answer is every time. Whenever this freaking heat breaks, good God. It is horrible.
Hey guys, I sent you a private chat. I sent you William's email. So it's flippin676@gmail.com. Yeah, I hear you. We've got 92 supposedly today, and we needed.
Well, I'm sure he'll appreciate you putting that out there publicly.
Yeah, well, hey, I did a private chat. Hey, I never did it, and
yeah, but then you said his email.
I sent him a messenger, and he, for some reason, cannot.
I got it, man.
He has the StreamYard link. I don't know why he can't, because I'm looking at it right now, and scroll up.
I got it.
Well,
I got it.
The live show, everybody. Sorry for the little glitch. But as I was saying, yeah, you're talking about the heat and all that. It's hitting like 90 degrees here today, and we had a nice thunderstorm last night because my grass is starting to turn a little brown on me, and I didn't feel like putting out the I didn't feel like turning on the sprinkler system.
All right. I see Pops is back in chat, man. I texted him the other day because I hadn't seen him around. Gary Spike Senior to everybody else. I call him Pops. He's one of our trackers, and him and Junior, his son. And man, I'll tell you what, they're two of the best damn trackers I've ever seen. And I was kind of getting worried about him. I hadn't seen him, hadn't heard from him in a while, and I had some people asking about him, so I texted him. And he's just been busy, you know. So he's okay. He's back in chat. And Pops, it's good to see you, man. When this heat breaks, and maybe we do that river expedition. I'll give you a call if you want, if you're interested, and you can go with us because we are planning on drift fishing and trolling the whole time. So that Brazos River can yield some good fish.
Oh yeah. Hey, and when you talk about, did you say the Raisin River, Tex? Or did you talk about the Red River?
The Brazos. Brazos.
Brazos?
Brazos. Brazos River.
Okay. So what type of when you're out there, what type of fish can you expect to get over there? Is that just bass, or is it loaded with everything?
Man, it's got striper, white bass or sand bass, and catfish, black bass, the occasional smallmouth. You know, I mean, of course you got big old gar in there, big old alligator, needle-nose gar, and just pretty much anything you want.
Very good. I'm trying to communicate back here with Will. Sorry about that. So I've been kind of back and forth. But yes, hi to everybody in chat. Dr. Mark in Texas. I've never seen that. Thanks for joining us. Louise, Sharon, a few others as I'm scrolling up here, waiting for our guests to arrive. But, you know, I was early, and, you know, I can't wait about 4 more days and I'll be getting my new system. And I can see this icon still popping out, and I'm not even using internet. But as you all know, I got to upgrade my computer system. I can't wait for that to come in. So if I'm sounding froggy again today, you guys, I apologize. That quality issue will be resolved here in the next week or so. So you just have to bear with me. And I know that I'm just glad I got a great partner, because usually if I flake out at the 40-minute mark, Tex, he's been closing out the last several shows. And, you know, a little disappointing nonetheless. But hey, Tex is the anchor that pulls the flagship Texas Front Porch together.
So. You know what? I'm also usually the anchor in the tug of war too, man. I don't know if that's a
good thing or
not.
Thanks, Arden Paranormal. And I think we made Arden. I can't see it. Is Arden a mod now in our chat? Because nothing lights up on my computer either. That's another thing.
Well,
but
I don't know, because we're broadcasting over 2 channels, so I don't know who's in
true.
what chat.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
What I can do is
I can make one on Texas Front Porch. Yeah, because I know she is one on brunch or on Bigfoot and Rob. So, and so yeah, for everybody, I'm going to say hi to everybody, a blanket hello, because we do have the 2 channels rolling, and I'm not being rude. I love you all, and thanks for joining us. I see Terry. Gary Spike Sr., Terry Brown, that is. So,
boom, there is a wrench for Arden.
Very nice. Hey, Mike, Long Island Bigfoot, long time no see. Thanks for joining us here today. And he's saying nothing so far, Tex. I don't understand.
I sent him the email.
And he's got
back. Oh, yeah, it kicked back for some reason.
So flip.
Give him my email. Tell him to just shoot me a hello, and I'll reply to him.
All right.
How's that sound?
Yeah. Well, he just sent me another email address.
All right. Well, just put it in private chat.
Yeah. Now, where's that at now on this private? I hit private chat. So I'm in private chat. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna send you the same one. It was just. Hang on. I missed a letter on his last one text. That's why I must just send this one.
All right. Y'all bear with us, guys.
You know, these live shows, I love them, but you know, it makes it challenging.
It does. It does. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this this river thing we got going. Let's see. Oh, I see what you did. Okay, yeah. I got it. All right. Let me try this again.
All righty.
See, that's what happens when you mix rednecks and country boys and
you know
and technology. You just
yes, you know, and it's not that yeah, and then you miss a letter sending somebody something, and what can you do? But the show must go on, and William Lunsford will be joining us here shortly, and I'm sick of spewing off about my computer. That's coming soon. It is hot here. For Michigan, it's unusually hot. It's in the 90s already, and we're at 1:15 p.m. Hey, Caroline, nice to see you. Randy Gilbert. Is that Rando? Good old Rando. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
No, the boss continuum. Good to see you. We are broadcast across 2 different channels, so the people I'm missing, I apologize. I do love you all. Thanks for joining the show today. So I'm kind of excited, Tex. They have Will Lunsford on because I guess he's just coming back from an expedition or out there looking in his areas for Bigfoot. And from what I understand, he's got some pretty good stories to relay back to us. I'm really looking forward to that. And it'll be like the 3rd time he's been on the show. And, you know, he's become popular with our fans.
And there he
is. I see he's coming.
He is here.
He is here.
Oh, he is here. He is here.
Guys, I apologize. I've been sitting here since 11:30. I have no idea, but we're here now, so we'll make up for it.
Hey, you know, it's
you know what?
It was on our end. Don't worry about it, brother. We fumbled the ball more than we care to admit.
I want to give y'all the best show I possibly can, man. We've had a lot of good things going on, so we'll go till 6 o'clock this afternoon if y'all want to. I'm good with it. So I apologize for whatever it is there, but hey, if I need to do another show, we can do that too.
Man, I'll tell you what.
No apologies.
I'll tell you what, Will, man, I'm chomping at the bit for this weather to break. Fat boys and hot weather don't mix, you know.
Hey, it's so hot down here. Bigfoot is wearing crew cuts, man. I mean, so it's that bad, and sandals. So you're getting size 24 shoes.
Well, see, you know, I want to come up here and roam around with you a little bit because my family's actually from there.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Can y'all see me Can y'all see me by the way on the camera?
No, just audio.
We know. I was about to. There you are.
There you are. Now we got you.
All right. Sorry. Now we've got 100% action here today.
Good deal. These computers, man, they make me so mad I can't see straight, man. I soon have 2 cans in a string sometime, you know.
I hear you.
Yeah, you don't want to get into that with me about computers. As Tex knows, and probably a lot of our audience, I've been dealing with gremlins, but that's going to be taken care of shortly. And, you know, we were just talking, Tex and I were talking earlier, and I think a couple of weeks ago I spoke with you, William. And
yeah, you did.
Had you just had a most recent trip?
Had a most recent what? Rob, say it again.
Trip, expedition.
Oh, yeah,
were you out researching? And
we went out Sunday night there, and we went down to Jonesville, which is the original home of the Faut Monster. It was originally called the Jonesville Monster. we're there about 11:45. We get set up there, and right there by a new clear cut where they had been screaming early this year. I do a couple of calls. We finally get a scream and a tree knockback, and then here comes somebody with a loud truck going 70 miles an hour down one of these country roads, and man, everything just shut down. So that just really kind of messed things up. But man, we have had a really good spring thanks to Stephen has kind of kept us going. I had COVID, and then Stephen got COVID, but he's kept us going there by going ahead and putting out Snickers and things like that for our cameras and things. But man, I tell you, this has been a great year starting out for what we've got. We've gotten a lot of pictures off the game cams. And then also I had a friend of mine come out from Alaska, a guy named Daniel Becker. And he had come down. Matter of fact, he was there when I saw y'all there at Jefferson. And he and I both got sick with COVID the same day. So we had to leave the conference. But anyway, man, we had that whole deal there. We probably saw, including what was in our cameras and in pictures, probably saw 13 or 14 there that whole week of April the 5th to the 11th there. So it was really, really good. And man, the thing is, these animals down here, I don't know if it's from being used to Stephen and I or not now, but they're actually coming down to the edge of the wood line and watching us when we're out there trying to watch them. So that's been really neat. We got several pictures. I've got Daniel and I got one there that he and I are going to debut here pretty soon. And as soon as he's again well, but as soon as he gets well doing that, and man, we got a face right there. It's probably, I went back and did it with a meter stick. This creature's probably 10.5 foot tall. We got a very good face, and you can see a hand across the chest. Look like it's holding a baby across there. So we've had a really, really good spring. But like I said, now, man, it's just so daggum hot. You know, you break a sweat eating a popsicle down here in Texas. Yeah. So, but it's I'm ready for this to get better. I've gotten so many sighting reports. I probably got 7 this last week. I went to Alabama to the beach. Actually got to talk to several people who had sightings. And then coincidentally, my yard man, he's been my yard man for 25 years. We've been friends, but whenever he moved down here and set up his lawn business, he was there, and he lived in Fouke, actually, and I did not know this. And so I was selling my truck. He goes, well, why are you selling your truck? I said, well, I'm in the woods here, and I need something that's very dependable. I said, because I'm down there where there's a lot of creatures. And he's a Mexican man. He's a U.S. citizen. And he goes, oh, you talk about gorilla? And I said, yeah. He goes, I saw him in Fouke. He come to my house. And so whenever he did, the thing actually came to his window and was trying to wipe away the window or else wave to his children in there. He couldn't really but then it started blowing on the window, and you could see where the smoke or the steam condensation where was coming up on the window. And then he would see it walking down across this field towards this other house there. So anyway, and that's the first time he's disclosed that with me, and that was like this last week there. So, but I've had several people that have had reports. We went about a month ago to a place around here. I went with some friends of mine, and we went down there, and the very first pee out of the dish, man, we have one throw a rock and actually hit my truck. And so I've got 2 witnesses with me on that. And so he hit, we sit there and we stop, we look around, and there's so much down here right now. There's so much foliage that you kind of have to get down and squat down in order to be able to see the way it is. Well, sure enough, like I said, my friends, and their name was Owenby, and had him, the man, and his son, his grandson. And so we sit there, and then we looked around some more. We didn't get any more activity, but this man here, his name is Jim Owenby. His son's name is Jack. And he was out this year at deer season. And so a friend of his put him in a stand. And so he's got something walking around, man, that's breaking leaves, growling, grunting, and everything else like that. He goes back to the truck for his buddy to pick him up. He goes, man, what is going on here? He goes, well, he said, you have something happen? He goes, yeah. And he's told him what happens. And he says, well, he said, that's one reason I put you in that stand. I want to see if the same thing happened to you. And he said he thought it was Bigfoot. So I went down there probably 2 weeks after that. And man, it was kind of stormy, but it had quit just enough so I started doing some calling. And man, we had a screaming contest for 30 minutes. Well, then it started raining again. I went back home, but I didn't tell Stephen, my research partner. Stephen goes that afternoon to the same place, and so he has the same thing happen with him. So we've had some good activity there, and some places that we're just ready to do some researching again. And So it's been really, really good, and I'm really excited about what we're going to have since we can get back out into the woods and check the cameras. I've been on vacation in Florida, as I said, so we got some cameras to look at, some cards that we need to pull. One thing that we did there, we have one down there, and I put 2 cameras in the same tree, kind of up high. And so he pulled the cameras down. He threw one. It took me probably 3 days to find it. I finally found it, but I haven't found the other one yet. But this other one's got a bunch of pictures on it. I've got one there kind of, as I said, it's elevated. And so it's like this, and you've got one looking down as Bigfoot walks underneath there. And so you can see that right there. And so, again, it's the same, some of the same areas that we have there. We go to some places down here in Fouke, and we go up there around Mena, then up there not too far from Derrick's Lake, up around Derrick's, Arkansas, just a little bit small town.
Are y'all still getting reports of them 3-toed critters up there?
Oh yeah. There's and that's the strange thing about this, that we get some from. We have one that look like might have a toe cut off. It look like a 2-toe track, but then also a lot of 3 toes, 4 toes, 5 toes. Again, and actually one that has 6 toes on there. So, but you can't ever tell what you're going to get. Me and Daniel Becker, as I said, when Daniel was down here, we got one that's about 20.5 inches, and then we got another about 18 inches. They're just huge, and there's several, of the small ones there where the mamas evidently have had their babies and set the babies down, and then the juveniles as well. So we're still getting those strange tracks. Again, the same way there at Fouke. I found some there along one of the places that I researched on that road after it had gotten real muddy, and then there was a 3-toed track where he was crossing the road there. So
I got to believe that a lot of that is got to be inbreeding.
And it could be not knowing how big their population is, and that's the thing. So, males of animal species will do some crazy things. They'll kill the offspring of other males that have bred with the females in order so the females will come back in season. So you just really don't know. So it could be inbreeding just like that right there. It works with people. Genetics is a funny thing. Go out to the mall and sit out there at the Midway. If you don't believe it, just take a look, and so they may have said the same thing about me and my mama whenever I was driving through. They said, oh, look at that ugly kid right there. Where's his banana? But it really does. I think it probably has a lot of inbreeding to do as well.
So let me ask you something.
Sure.
The critter that was running around back in the 70s, bothering everybody up there,
right?
Because I know from people I talk to, from the reports I get, and all that kind of stuff, it almost sounds like he was a rogue of some kind.
It could have been. They had done some clear cutting around there at that time too, and that wasn't the first time. They had some sightings back in the 60s. Actually, going back to the first sighting back in 1908 that they had back then. Yeah. So I think if it wasn't just one creature that was a rogue, it could have been the fact that they were destroying his habitat, and they tend to take a pretty dim view of that,
Yeah, they don't like that when you mess up their, rearrange their living room for them.
Well, exactly right. Try that with my wife and see if she don't kick all 3 of us out.
Boy, you ain't kidding.
But then is that creature right there. This is it right here, the Faut Monster. I'm friends with Keith Crabtree. If y'all can see this right here, he does a camp out there twice a year there. But the Keith actually played the monster in the movie there.
Yep.
And so he's given me a lot of background information as to what went on that I didn't know. But as far as the sightings, after I got hooked, after the first one I was hooked. After I saw my second one, I'm like, I've got to know more because my territory is in the same place, and then I want to have some control over this. So, but it was a very real creature. As I've told y'all before, I worked at UPS for 35 years, and at a time I was able to take a part of that UPS route that took me into Fouke. And so, after a while, I don't mind making a nuisance out of myself or embarrassing myself. I say, well, when's the last time you saw the creature? Some people would laugh, some people would say nothing, or else I would say something like, man, this is so far out here. If the Faut Monster don't live out here, he ought to be ashamed of himself. And well, if you think that, then you need to be here at dark, And so that opened up a communication line when they saw that I wasn't going to make fun of him. And I actually told them I saw him back in 1977. And so they opened up and really opened up telling me some really, really good stories. The things back then, it's not as grown up. It's more grown up now. It wasn't grown up then. But, the things actually coming and looking in their window, just like what the show said right there, when you saw them coming in, reaching a hand in and the knocking on houses and things like that. So but that creature's still there. I've had probably, last year on May the 25th, I saw 3 of them crossing right there by a place called Mercer Bayou. And a week. Yeah, and then a week after that, a friend of mine is down at the other end of Mercer Bayou. Mercer's probably, anywhere 15 to 18 miles, just kind of snaking through the woods and everything. But he's down there and he's got his nephew, and he's there at a place called the Mounds. Well, the Mounds are world famous for Bigfoot sightings. And so that's where a guy named Doyle Holmes had his sighting right there at a place called Carter Lake. My buddy's there in Carter Lake. And all of a sudden the thing starts making noises to him. So he kind of tries to start making noises back. And he got some of it on record, but not a whole lot. But still, he was able to record things. The noise, it sounds a whole lot like Chewbacca. It's not a bear, but he said it was almost frustrated that it couldn't communicate with him or convey whatever message it was wanting. It wasn't the message to leave because he had a little boy with him. As we all know, Bigfoot tends to have a affinity for children and women. And so it was almost like it was frustrated that it couldn't communicate, but I've got part of that recording still here on my phone. And so that's a really strange that he had that happen to him a week after that. Then this last week there's a man that's been turkey hunting there. And I have a friend named Shannon Cruz up around Ashdown, Arkansas. And Shannon actually has him on his property. But I met a man who hunts over about a mile from his property. Never met the man before until this past Saturday at a birthday party for my son's girlfriend's child. And so her father got out to go turkey hunting. As soon as he got out at the end of this road, a mile across from where my buddy Shannon's laying, and there's a Bigfoot there, and it takes off running. He thinks, oh man, that's not a bear. So he called one of his buddies who was real familiar with the game fish. They release bears and things in these different areas. He said, are they releasing any bears? He goes, no. He said, man, I just saw something. He goes, why don't you go there and see, look for footprints? He goes, there ain't no way. Well, man, if he'd called me, the highway would have curled up behind my truck, man, like a Roadrunner cartoon. But I just found this out. But he was very, very forthcoming with that information. So again, like I said, a lot of stories that I have had come to me, and I'm really glad for that because people seem like they're opening up a whole lot more.
Yeah. Hey, William, you mentioned Keith Crabtree, and Tex and we met him in Alabama, and I just wanted to mention that one of the nicest guys I ever met. I mean, genuine guy. He told some great stories, which I'm not going to release because they're private to him.
Yeah.
And he did make mention of you, and I'll just throw that out to you. Yeah, he's a great guy, and some awesome stories, and that I had to give that shout out because we're a real genuine guy. And
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I know he does too, man. He's the kind of guy, the people that we meet here, Bigfoot, and you think, oh, we've met a bunch of nuts. Man, no, these are some of the best people you've ever met in your life. That's the truth. So I appreciate you saying that, and I'll tell him that because he is, man. Without Keith Crabtree playing his Genuine Monsters, what he played in that movie, we're not having this conversation today. We're off doing something else, So really, really a good guy. Like I said, has a lot of background knowledge. He never meets a stranger.
You ain't kidding.
Oh yeah, he brings his camper along, does a lot of cooking. He'll feed anybody that's there. So just boys, it's class of individuals you ever want to meet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I walked away with one of those shirts that you're wearing.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
I try to work with Keith. He has, as I said, he puts on a spring camp out there, and then he has a Halloween deal for children there on Halloween. And so there'll be a lot of known researchers, people who are into about like we are. They'll come down, they'll bring their children. We'll do Boy Scout troops and stuff like that, taking them through there and then have them camp. And then we have a big bonfire there, and they quote town hall unquote. And I always try to run the town hall for them because, like I said, I'm not ashamed to ask anybody any question about Bigfoot, man. When people say, well, we're going to talk about Bigfoot, I say, hey, this ain't one of them shows where we're going to say, well, if Bigfoot exists. No, it's not going to happen. This is a show telling you right now, as honest as I can be and as humble as I can be, that Bigfoot is real, 100% real. And I've had now probably 200 interviews with different people about their encounters with Bigfoot. And so many of them correspond as far as for traits and things like that, it's too coincidental to be coincidence,
we say that all the times. You hear a lot of stories are all the same. And it's not like hundreds of thousands of people are making this stuff up, right? And it's like, and if you were, boy, you have no life. I mean, you know how much research you'd have to do to emulate stories. And one thing that's unique about you, William, is there's many researchers out there that maybe they spotted Bigfoot once, twice, three times, or maybe not at all. It seems, Will, you're like a magnet, and you see them, and I have to ask you a question. Do or a lot of your experiences, a lot of these Bigfoot, they probably know who you are, right? When you're out there. I mean, they probably feel your presence, that energy.
I really believe that. I used to not. I used to think that was kind of silly, but I might have mentioned y'all before that I've got one there, and me and Steve and I always are kidding about it being a female and that it's looking for him. And he goes, "No," he said, "That's your girlfriend." But she actually comes up and puts tracks there by where I've left my truck. And so in doing that right there, some people say, well, Bigfoot doesn't want anything to do with people. Please, man, they're showing up in people's gardens, they're showing up in their backyard, they're crossing their fields. So that's not so. Bigfoot just kind of does what it wants to do, and I think it's probably as interested in us, but they do recognize us. I think that's one reason, as you said, that Stephen Hills is great a researcher. I think y'all have talked with Stephen. If you haven't, it's because he works during the daytime and works on that big logging truck, and it's hard for him to get off. But he's one of the most genuine people, one of the best researchers that you've ever met. And like I said, he kept us going this year. When I had COVID, he was able to at least go down and like I said, kind of bait up our cameras and stuff like that, and let them know that our presence is still there. So they do. I think they do, and I'm very blessed with that. There's some people. I saw that when working at UPS, certain dogs that would just normally eat people up. And when they saw me coming, they would be a half mile down the road to chase me and get a dog biscuit. So I think people have certain ways, and not just myself, but other people as well, that they recognize. They recognize I'm not there to hurt them. That when Christy Sci-Fi kids me about, they don't like for you to call them Bigfoot. And I say, Christy, hey, they know that I have the most respect for them as the most dominant animal in the woods. It's called Oma in one of the Indian terms there, and that means boss of the mountains or boss of the woods. And that's what I mean, because this thing is really, really something. But so far, thank goodness, I've only had 3 encounters that were semi-violent. Maybe could have changed over that, but the rest of them are just like I said, the ones that me and Daniel saw. Let me tell you something about Daniel, this man right here that came down from Alaska. We went last year, and I said, y'all met him, but we both got COVID. Well, he came back again in April, and he's very, very good. He's done all his research on the computer. He's listened to different people. He had a photographer lined up in Anchorage, Alaska, that should we get any pictures, that he could send the pictures to. And so she could run them through a filter. So sure enough, we do. We get the photographer there that's lined up, and so whenever we get the pictures, and he sends it to her, and then within 10 minutes she sent us back, yeah, I ran it through the filters. That thing is real. That thing is in all those filters. And then he also prepared himself by he had contacted a guy named L.A. Marzulli, he's some kind of I think he does more research on maybe Nephilim, but he sent an email to Marzulli as well. So man, he was really prepared. He's going to be an asset to us. And another man named Eric Johnson that I met when I went to go with Duke to Montana. Eric, boy, he was as sharp as a tack. He was out that morning before me and Duke ever woke up, and he was out getting recordings that morning. So again, that's going to be somebody that's really going to help all of us here in the Bigfoot community.
We were given some audio when we was up in Alabama, and I've got it queued up. You want to hear it?
Yeah, please. I'd love to.
All right. Let's see. Let me jump over here. Where's the damn play button at?
It's in the middle.
Put this behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all hear that?
Yes, sir. That's a lot like what I've heard. I was very fortunate this year when I went to Keith's camp out last year on Halloween. There was a lady there, and she lived about maybe 7 miles from Fouke. And you could see she was very upset. And her grandson came up to me and he said, my grandma needs to talk to you. So anyway, well, I went up there to talk to her, and she hasn't come across her property. And they're actually just scaring her horses and her dogs to death. But she has out there and recorded what they're doing when they're coming across, and they're the very same noises as what you're getting right there. Just letting you have it. So Stephen is better at audio than I am. I'm kind of lucky as far as for setting out cameras and stuff, and so far been real lucky. But man, Stephen, he can go out there and he really gets some good audio. He's got some that if he gets on your show, have him to send to you and you can hear. And but yeah, it's the same way. And then when Duke, if y'all talked to Duke when we went up there to Montana, we had that.
He's actually in the chat.
Yeah. And and we've been having storms here every Sunday night, so it's been knocking out my internet, so I haven't been able to actually contribute for anything. But as we were up there, we had that whistling noise, and the whole time that we got there up in those mountains like that. And yes, somebody's Mark in Texas. Are you familiar with Smith Park? Yes, very much. Me and my son for about 3 years were very familiar with a family of Bigfoot that lived a male, a female, and a small one. And then more and more people got to going down there, and then they actually got to where they kind of became more reclusive. But we've probably seen 4 or 5 Bigfoot there in the woods at Smith Park. Smith Park, every research group that I have talked to that's been to Smith Park has had some kind of activity down there. Chrissy Sci-Fi, she got a picture of one kind of up in a tree. There was a man that moved in next door to where we live right here for about 3 months, and him and his wife hunted and fished on Sulphur River. Well, down there's a boat ramp, and as they were going to the boat ramp, there's a big brown one with another baby that walked the road right there and ran right across. So Smith Park is very, very famous, and they're there. And the place I told you about, Mercer Bio, is right across the road from Smith Park down a 1 mile county road right there, and it dead ends into the bio. So it's it's really a famous area. And again, a lot of the sightings, as we were talking a while ago, I'm very lucky to live where I live because there's just a lot of Bigfoot here. And it really is, like we talked at Monster Central, I think is what you called it before, right there. So we're Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And man, they've been here for a long time. And I don't know why people have such a problem acknowledging what they are and that they're actually here, unless it's going to upset their apple cart. And I love to tell some of these hunters and take them in there and show them the tree structures and things like that. And they go, gee, thanks, Will. Now you've done screwed up my hunting for the rest of the time. Now I'm going to be looking for Bigfoot walking through the woods instead of looking for deer. Well, hey, I just saved your life, maybe, So, and I, of course, kid with them like that. But it's very, very fortunate to have that. And like I said, I love to spend the time out in the woods. It's addictive. And I'm not an adrenaline junkie. It's just when you see something like that, you kind of realize your place in the universe, where you are, whereas we thought we were top of the food chain. No, they're not, but they're family oriented. We got some pictures. I've been trying to change the way we do things. Me and Steven used to be, whenever I was growing up, well, the $1 million picture. I've got pictures of 50 Bigfoot here on my phone, and I will show y'all that if anybody doesn't believe it, but I've got them here. I've showed a lot of them on Duke's show, but there's not a such thing as $1 million picture. Now everybody wants a video. And so as me and Daniel were there, I happened to look across his field, and there's a big brown female that's going across the field. And I said, there's one, Daniel. I put her, and I stopped. When I skidded the rocks from underneath my truck, it was like a daggone bingo hopper, and so she turns, she stops, and she looked. So by the time I get my phone set up, we're having a staring contest, and we stand there for 10 minutes, and she will not move. And I had a function to go to that night. And I said, Daniel, I can't stay here. I'm going to just have to take some pictures. So we take pictures. And like I said, we would have had her walking across the field, but I could see something moving. And when we came back, I was able to blow it up. And there she's got a baby in her arms. She's crossed, big, beautiful, brown, beautiful coat. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. And the people I've showed it to are just blown, they're just blown away, because that's really, it's just really, really amazing.
If somebody, because we got what's his name? Dr. Dad Gummit.
I think it's Dr. Mark Twain.
Dr. Mark in Texas. He said he needs to contact you.
Yeah, he can. Just tell him to y'all can give him my phone number if you've got it. Just do it just kind of privately there, because my phone, like I said, it's out about half the time, or else I've got it sitting somewhere. Been real busy lately. But yeah, tell him to contact me, or else contact me on Facebook, and then I'll send it to him on doing that. Yeah, I would appreciate that, man. It's just, and there's one gas line that I saw my first Bigfoot on. There has been, that I know of, over 9 sightings on this very same gas line over a 23-mile stretch right there, going all the way from Smith Park there, actually before that, and going on into Atlanta, Texas, and to down around a place called Huffines down there. So it's really, really, they're creatures of habit. Then where you find one, you can tend to find more of them. And
yeah, that's what we're running into.
Really,
into down here. It's like they. And I think most of the time when we're out there in Brown Springs, it's the juveniles that are messing with us.
Right.
Yeah,
I think so too.
The big alpha males, they stay back deep in the brush for the most part.
They do, but they're still sitting there watching you. We this thing that last year it started there on the day that me and Stephen, we got the picture of, I think we've told you about, we got a picture of a dog man and 3 Bigfoot walking up the hill. We find about 3 or 4 more there in the background.
Now now that picture, is that dog man with the Bigfoot?
It is with the Bigfoot. And there's also another note there that's kind of hiding underneath a log. And like I said, they run together. They really do. It's strange as you would think. And so far, Dog Man for us has not had the vicious reputation. It's what they do the rest. Like they come rip people's hearts out, like, what you see on American Werewolf in London or something other like that. They're very, very smart and very, very patient, methodical with what they do. And so we saw that, like I said, running with the Bigfoot. And then the next month, whenever we came down, again, like I said, they're coming out in the woods. I saw 7 of them out, or 2 of them out in the field when we first got there. And then we went and checked the cameras. And before we ever leave the place we are, there's another one out in the field. And then we get a picture of 7 out in the same field while we're not even back to our trucks yet. So really, really, really a strange thing like that. But when they started that, and I think it's like y'all said earlier, maybe because they recognize Stephen and I is not going to be, I heard them, they'll come out and they're maybe as inquisitive about us, it's what we are about them. But that's the honest truth, man. Like I said, you can add, I'm like the little guys there when you're watching Crocodile Dundee, they're going around taking pictures. I'm the same way. I've got pictures of everything I've got, so, but it's very, very interesting. And I would just tell that Dr. Mark to holler at me on Facebook and then I will send him my phone number, and that way I can talk to him that way. Because that's the way to get good stories. That's the way we learn, is learning from each other, whether he has stories or not. If you talk to anybody, they'll say, well, I've never had a sighting, but so-and-so that I know had a sighting. And man, that's, and most of them, the police call it the urge to confess. Well, it's the same way with Bigfoot. People want to tell you this, man. It's weighing on their mind. In 1977, the first couple people I told laughed at me, people I loved. They knew I saw something, but that was their response. I know you saw something. And there's a whole lot difference between people listening and people believing. And man, like I said, even though that right there, I just quit telling people. But then that urge to confess, I kept that inside. And then finally, some of these newer TV shows made it to where it's not crazy anymore to talk about. And it was almost like a support group for me, man. That lifted the weight off my shoulder. And then all of a sudden, other people, a guy I went to church with for 15 years, he saw it within a mile of the same place I saw it, with his grandpa, who was a Church of Christ preacher. And then the Church of Christ preacher would sit there and step on the devil's tail, and tell him he's going to burn forever. He just wasn't scared, but he was just that kind of truthful man. So really, really is. It's really, really a neat. It's a great area down here. Y'all come down here sometime. It'll take you about a week to really, but it's better right now. Like I said, it's just really hot. And if you go down there right now, also the blasted frogs down there, there's a lot of swamp and stuff where we are. You can't hear for the frogs. And, because they're just so blasted loud. But man, if you come in here in February, March, and April, into about the first week of May, and then again about the last week of September, October, November, during the deer season thing, you can have a whole lot of activity. And
yeah,
when the area
I was telling.
Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I was telling Tex. Yeah, you need at least more. For me personally, I always tell Tex I would need a little more than 3 days. It just seems like that's when everything starts to warm up. You get there for 3 days, you might start experiencing something, and then you're gone. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think that at least we call it camping, right? I don't call it like researching, right, or whatever. It's just out in the woods and doing my thing, and it's just like you got to spend at least 7 days. Would you not agree, or does it not even matter? You could have an encounter, a sighting in 24 hours or 98 hours.
Those kind of one-time sightings happen every now and then, but that's the exception rather than the rule. Just like you said, by the time you're there 3 days, they're sitting there, they're watching you the whole time. People say, well, I've never seen one. I've hunted all my life. Well, let me tell you, they've seen you. And I believe that with all my heart. I'm not being a smart at it. They've seen you. They sit there. I've seen them stand by a tree and sit there and look at you, and you didn't even know he was there. And then whenever you turn away, you see him kind of step away. And then whenever you look back again, then like I said, they move back to the tree. But they sit there and observe you. So when you're there in an area like that, they do watch you,
That's like down there in Brown Springs. I caught that one in my binoculars that was sitting there watching us. And when we looked, when I got I was trying to, let the other guy see. And by the time I got binoculars back, he was gone, and went and looked around that tree he was at, and it had worn out the damn grass around it. The ground was bare where he not only stood around that tree, but the trail that he walked off on. I mean, it was. So yeah, they sit, they'll sit about 40 yards back in the brush, and they'll just sit there and watch campsites.
Well, July the 2nd, 2013, I took my sister and my niece and my niece's brother, and then one more child down there with us, and Reese went down there with me as well. And so we're down there, and my niece has 2 twin girls, so her twin girls have to go to the bathroom. So when actually we give them their privacy, they go over behind the bush, and all of a sudden my niece screams. And she's a teacher in Austin, Texas. They're a very, very smart young lady. And she goes, there he is. So, man, of course, we wanted to give the girls time to redress or whatever. But so where she goes, he's standing right over there. He's about, like you said, about 40 yards away behind the tree. And this was before we had ever laid eyes on a brown one down there. And she goes, he was kind of a rusty brown, the same color as pine needle. So when we finally got down there, when they got dressed and went down there, of course, there's snakes and everything else too, a lot of vinage. It was probably 3 to 4 minutes, but still you could look behind the tree, and then there's 2 big 17-inch impressions in the pine needles right there where the thing had been sitting there watching. And had she not looked and seen, they're notorious for hiding behind that tree, peeking out behind that tree, and then jumping back like that. Had she not seen it move, she probably would not have seen it.
No, and that's what they'll do. They'll sit there and they'll just stand still. And it reminds me of these people that do these living statues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they were
unreal.
Yeah. And that's why I think so many people mistake them for trees, because one, the color, they blend in, especially when it gets a little dark, these woods, I mean, it ain't nothing to see a tree that's half broke off, especially after a storm. I think they make use of that.
Well, exactly. I met a lady in Bass Pro Shops in Bossier City, Louisiana, probably 6 years ago. Her name was Mindy. I don't remember her last name. She was from Oklahoma. And I had a Bigfoot shirt on, and she goes, do you believe in Bigfoot? And I said, well, I've seen Bigfoot. She goes, I have too. I said, of course, I'm going to find out where. I mean, that's like sitting to a radar on my favorite Martian, man. I'm locked in. Where at? And she was telling me and her and her boyfriend had a fight. They were in Oklahoma driving some of them back roads. They get up to a stop sign, so she stops so she can chew him out a little bit better. And they're sitting there looking at what they thought was a salt cedar tree. Next thing you know, that salt cedar tree stands up and it starts walking towards their truck. And she takes off as fast as she can go. And she said the whole time it was just motionless. That it would have fooled me the whole time had it not decided to stand up and start walking towards us. And that's what happens a lot of times.
Well, that happened to us. I mean, we had one. It come out of the trees and it run right up beside my truck and camped. And then went back into the brush. Well, when we went over to, see what we could see see the where he'd run through the grass and knock the dew off the grass, and we was sitting there looking. It was me and senior and junior, and we see this damn big old, like I said, about a half broke off tree stump, and we sitting there watching it, and then it walked off.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
that's okay. Well, I just want to let us know that in about 2 minutes, we got about 2 minutes
Yep.
before we have to cut away from our iHeart and Odyssey Radio listeners. So come over to Texas Front Porch and subscribe, or my channel, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And I like to squeeze this question before we go to that break.
Sure.
You had mentioned about, and maybe it might be a more lengthy answer, but you had mentioned about everyone's looking for that $1 million photo or video. And to be honest, if you caught that, Will, I know you've seen them square up, but would it even be really worth putting out there and publishing? Don't you think that would cause people to even further say, hey, you know what, that's a bunch of baloney?
I certainly do. And regardless of what you get, it's not going to be enough.
Right.
Like this picture that me and Daniel got there, it was on Daniel's phone. I was looking for snakes and letting Daniel have the phone. He had a better phone than I did with a better camera. And when you see this thing, you're going to see the face. It's going to just blow you away. But that's not going to be enough for some people. Neither is the video. Neither are the audio deals. Neither is the fact if we got 100 people together in the same place telling you it's not going to be enough. Then that's just the honest truth. And that's just because, some people just, like I said, upsets their apple cart, and some people just want to be cantankers. Well, like I said, it's also when that Bigfoot's chasing you down the road one time. Well, it's not quite as funny as it was. They're like, man, I wish I would have listened to Will on this, because what I do now, So,
yeah.
So I do believe that it's not going to be enough. That $1 million picture, that $1 million bounty in Oklahoma, or $2 million bounty, that's a joke, man. They don't make the daggum iron bars that'll hold that joke.
The trap you'd have to lay for that thing, I'd hate to see it.
Oh, me too. And then I'd have to I hate to be the one to try to get him out of the, try to get him out.
You ain't kidding.
You're right. That's the bigger issue. No pun intended. Hey, yeah. Hey, Tex, are we ready to cut this off and come back for the second half?
Yeah, we can take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and chew the fat some more.
Hey, man, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to it again. We got some time to make up, so y'all go ahead, and I'll be here waiting on y'all in 5 minutes.
That'll work.
Yeah,
right. 5 minutes.
I appreciate it.
And everybody on Odyssey, iHeartRadio, come on over to our channels and catch the second half with William Lunsford.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute. Howdy, folks. We're back.
We are back. We are back. And Arden Paranormal, I got to thank you for the great work you're doing over there, sending out all our links and everything. I do appreciate that. And I'm sure Tex does as
Oh, yeah,
well.
no doubt.
And
No doubt.
I'd like to, when we start this out, William, I got a question for you that we can get back into your great stories. You know, we hear all these different vocalizations out in the forest. They're all different sounds, and I always ask people this because I always still wonder: do you think these howls or whatever vocalizations are being made is that communication with Sasquatch, or do you think that maybe they're just letting people know that they're in the area? I often wondered about that.
You know, that's a good question. I think they probably recognize a certain howl about like what coyotes and wolves do. You know, it's in one way they communicate. Also, we know that Bigfoot tends to communicate through what we call zapping or vibing there. That infrasound, we know that they can do that for sure. Not like they can communicate with that, but it can also make you sick. But I think, too, it's just a way of just letting us know that they're there. Sometimes it may just be that I talked to a guy the other day that's whenever he was down there hunting about 2 years ago, and he saw one, and the thing didn't know he was there. And he was up in his blind, and he said the thing just kind of hunkered down and just all of a sudden just belted out. And then he said for no reason at all. He said because it never showed. If it knew he was there, it never showed any kind of inkling that it did know or acted anything different. You know, and their vocalizations, again, we talked about those whistles. Let me share this with somebody. If when y'all get through with this, go on the internet and look up Bonnie, the whistling orangutan. There's an orangutan, and she actually developed the ability to whistle through listening to her zookeeper there. I think she's at Washington, D.C. Zoo, if I'm not sure. But go listen to that right there and listen to her whistle, because this is one of the neatest things that you've ever heard. So they can pick this kind of stuff up. Whether it's their way of communicating with each other on that, I don't know. But the ways that they do communicate, the tree knocks, you know, whatever they mean, we think we know, but every now and then they throw a curve or a kink, and everything we thought we knew. Well, rats, what does that mean? You know, but they have so many ways, and they're a familial animal, and by that I mean that they're family units. You know, and then they're pack. Stephen's gotten 2 pictures this year of a pack actually coming down off the mountain, or a tribe, whatever you want to call the group of Bigfoot. They're actually come down. They're sitting there looking at him, And then again, after a while, and he'll have one or two, that'll pop their heads up out of the brush, and that'll be it. And I got a picture of a pack there in front of mine, in front of one of my cameras right there. So I think it has a lot to do with being a family unit like that. I think their communication is a whole lot to them. We found out lately just how much elephants love to communicate with each other when they're taken away and chained up. That's part of the movement they do. Well, you'll see Bigfoot doing a lot of that too, but they say the elephants are probably part of the frustration. So I think that that's one of the ways that they communicate, and I don't think that's speculation. I've heard enough of them howl and I heard some different howls. I had a lady named Patricia from Louisiana. She sent me one of the recordings there one night that she had right outside her house, and so whenever it did, of course, a lot of it was whoop whoop, doing the whoop that they do. And then we heard them up in Oklahoma one night after we had one come up that I saw put his hand on my truck. I might have shared that with y'all. But anyway, he comes back with 2 rocks outside our tent after I had lit up the outside, and he smacks those rocks together. Then he goes across the river and whoop, whoop for 30, 40 minutes like that. So they have that whoop. If he meant something by it, I sure didn't understand it. But I know that they do, just like the rest of the animals. Man, you can have over here in my neighborhood, you can have one dog bark and the whole daggum neighborhood goes crazy, So I think it does. I really do think it means a whole lot. And I think in some ways, even with the tree structures, they're trying to communicate with each other. The tree manipulations, and maybe even with us people, like, hey, stay out, or hey, this is my hunting area, or this is some kind of thing like that. So again, what we know, and until we get some in a habituated area, is it's not all guess, it's not all speculation, because I've seen enough of that stuff. Those are dependable traits that are coming through there. Not only myself, but other people like y'all as well. Those are dependable traits that you see in time and time again. It's just getting to learn what they mean and things like that. So
well, and that's how we're going to learn is and I beat this dead horse till it's a bloody pulp. These people that think their encounter is too boring to talk about. It's those encounters that we're going to pick up the most useful data points from, not these outlandish, he jumped on my John Deere tractor and drove it across my pasture. Not those type of encounters, but and I hate to say mundane, but the more normal ones, the road crossings, the howls, the knocking and stuff like that. Those are data points that we've all experienced. And the more we can put, you're right, the more we can put those together, more we're going to learn. And as far as understanding what these communications mean, well, until we, like you said, we can sit down and we can actually study one, and like that, we're not going to know, but we can better speculate, I think, is what the term should be.
That's it. Those 3 days up there in Montana that we were, we were up there camping with Eric and Duke and up there up on the mountain at their place where they go. Like I said, 3 solid days of whistling. Now, like I said, it didn't change much. I did get one tree knocked out. Well, in the morning it was 22 degrees. I walked over to this glade to get some firewood. We burned everything we had that first night, and I thought I had gone to Montana to die because I went and got a log and pulling it back, and all of a sudden when knocks on a tree, and I stopped to look and never could find him. But anyway, I think he was probably letting the others know, hey man, this guy's over here. He's across the road now instead of being over. So I do believe that. My wife can walk down there where we go, and this is no lie. And she does a call. Evidently her voice is just so right on. And man, the mamas will come to the edge of the woods and start showing their babies. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. Okay, I believe that was on the move and called twice because he didn't get an answer the first time. We have set up cameras there and just left them there, and found that whenever we drive back up, you'll hear the knock back in the woods. They're letting the other ones know that, hey, they're back, and I believe that with all my heart, because it's been a dependable behavior that they have done. And as well as I've heard other people say the same thing. As soon as we drive up, we hear the knock, and then we don't really get a whole lot more. So I believe anybody that doesn't believe this is you're really missing out, because the study of Bigfoot is going to be something really interesting if we could just get the funding to do it. You get people that, I don't want to kill them, I want to share my information. Steven's the same way. A lot of y'all, you're the same way. Yeah.
I want you to address this question, okay?
Sure.
It says people were evidently blocking these questions from seem, and I don't see a problem with this. I mean, if
Yeah.
we as researchers cannot be questioned
Yeah.
about our research, about our evidence, then we
Right.
don't need to be on, talking about it. And Bigfoot Truth says, I'm simply stating that William makes the claim that he has pictures of these creatures, yet he never shows any pictures. What's with that? So
Well, the thing is, number one, that and set some of these out. I have a book that's written, some that are going to be published in my book. So I've had some of that, but I've made a lot of my pictures public as far as it goes. I actually had 5 pictures that, had we not had COVID last year, would actually be in the Arkansas History Museum at the Capitol in Little Rock. And I had actually done the introduction and the meeting with the lawyers and the man who was putting that on. Then COVID came and they shut it down. But I've got a picture of Bigfoot biting my camera. Got a picture of Bigfoot laying in front of my camera with his hand reached around. He's got his hand on the Snickers bar. You can see the brow ridge right there, and you can blue it up. You can put it on his eyes. My wife got a picture of a baby Bigfoot. Like I said, she walks to the edge of the woods and she hollers, and there's not just one Bigfoot, but there's or one baby Bigfoot, but 2, but one of them is more out in the clear. So it's just a thing of convenience, like I said, with computer trouble like what we had a while ago right there. But it's not. As y'all know, I've sent a lot of them to Duke as far as they go. It's on his show, and I don't know y'all are buddies. Y'all don't mind me saying that, and it's not a deal of wanting to sit there. They're actually good pictures. Now sometimes with Bigfoot, you see the tracks, you see him walk up by your camera, and then the pictures you get come up just not worth a rat. And there's nobody any more disappointed than me. Go ahead.
I've got a couple of pictures I want to show you.
Yeah.
And I want your opinion on them, because I want your opinion on what's going on, because we're seeing these green faces.
Yeah.
And let me bring those up real quick, and you can, let's see, where's that? Is this one? No, that's not one. Here we go. There we go. So that's one. That's out of North Carolina.
Right.
And I mean, if you look at this picture, you can see the eye socket, the nose, the cheekbone, the lips, and it's a still from a video. And I slowed the video down frame by frame, and you can actually see the mouth move.
Oh yeah.
So, but here's one out of Brown Springs that actually Robert Dotson took this picture. The late Robert Dotson took this picture.
Right.
And here's, of course, it's ran through filters, but there it is in different stages.
Right. And the filters, people go to griping if you had to send some through filters. Man, as a UPS man, I delivered to probably 10 different camera studios. What you're getting is a finished product that they deliver to you, of your family. You all see what's in the trash can back there, of having to run through filters to get the best product. It's the same way with Bigfoot. They're not going to sit there and, as a rule, just pose for you. Sometimes you have to lighten it or darken it or something like that. Robert Dodson, coincidentally, one of my good friends here in Arkansas, actually took over Robert Dodson's videos and stuff. His name is Udell Head. He lives up in right around Mena. I talked to him just like 2 or 3 days ago. We're fixing to do a show the 23rd up there around Shady Lake in Arkansas. Udell has got all his stuff. And man, you talk about some great pictures. He's actually got some really, really good videos. That one that you just showed right there, man, hey, that looks a lot like something that a lot of them that we have here. The thing is, they don't all look a lot,
I have a couple of theories on these green faces. Now, one is the oil on their skin reflecting the background they're in.
Exactly.
Okay. 2 is maybe these things have actually, I mean, it could be then camouflage, but the problem with that is the entire face is green and it looks like it's been professionally put on grease paint, and it's just, to me, that's a little, I think if that was the case, if they were using some kind of mud or something or berries or whatever for camouflage paint, which I don't doubt they would, but I think if they did, you would see smears. You would see it's so uniform, that I don't think it's that. I'm leaning more towards the oil reflecting the color of the background.
That's exactly what I think. I think they use the mud, for insects, keep the insects. I know they use certain plants. The first one I ever saw was eating some leaves off of a plant called a rusty blackhaw viburnum tree.
Right.
And Cliff Berrickman actually asked me there from the Finding Bigfoot show. He said, well, do you think that maybe they were treating themselves because they were sick, like what a dog does by eating grass? So I went and checked, and sure enough, this little berry that grows on this tree, it was actually treated for certain deals. So if they do that, but also they've got that oil on their face, they have oil on their hands, and it could be that most of the time you see we have one that me and Stephen call gray face. Rarely he gives you his face and that's it. But if with the oil on there and the leaves around there, it will actually reflect off that and make their face look green. Could be some kind of fungus or some kind of skin condition.
Very well could be.
And until we get some more concrete information on that, like I said, it's just going to be purely speculative, but it does show. And
it could be the fact that they hit a certain age.
It could be.
I don't know. It's a really strange phenomenon to me, and it's just another. It's just another one of the things that make you scratch your head, because when we talk about these things having supernatural abilities and all this kind of stuff, I'm not convinced that they're what we call paranormal creatures. I think the phenomenon that we're dealing with, I don't think it's all Bigfoot out there, and I've said that a lot, but. And I've ran into, I don't know one researcher that's worth his salt that can sit here and say, well, I've never seen anything out there that I can't explain.
No, that would not be true. He wouldn't be telling you the truth. Not all Bigfoot look alike. Some of them have got the cone heads. Some of them have got the round heads. Some of them, the noses are more flat. The ones that we have up there around where I mentioned Udale, they're around Amina and stuff. A lot of them have got the little hooded noses there, so they don't all look the same. So it, like you said, it could be something. It could be a deal of age. It could be something they've eaten, possibly. Like I said, it could be some kind of fungus that they have. So until we know, it's just strictly speculation. But we do know, like I said, that it does happen. I said I've got some pictures of some that kind of have the greenish color tint. Yeah. But the rest of what you're looking at, there's no doubt that and it's not because I'm 3 or 4 miles in the woods. There ain't nobody could come back there with a little mask on. Yeah. Go ahead.
And too, William, what we were talking about earlier about what's your take on some people that make the claim that perhaps Sasquatch hair is like translucent? It would make sense to me if they were in a forest. Let's say they're in a swamp, right? And it's translucent, and it could just peer through, and it could make the Bigfoot appear to be a green color. Now, I don't know about the masking of the face. I think that's a good idea that perhaps they do to put mud or what have you, or green swampy mud on their face and chest to prevent bugs or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But what's your take? Maybe perhaps this translucent hair is something that also will make them blend in and appear a different color.
Well, I've looked into that too, and sometimes the medulla of the hair, is just thicker than the others. And it could be that it actually makes it where it doesn't reflect as much of the dark color. They're not all the same color. We know that for sure. I know that for sure. I can show you that on my cell phone. And so we know that. So it could be that the medulla of the hair is more translucent, and therefore it makes it look more like. Now, as I said, I'll be the first one to tell anybody. If I have the ones I have seen so far, I have not had any kind of thing paranormal as far as that goes. There wasn't anything that I couldn't explain as far as being a natural creature that I believe was on the ark with Noah. That's just the honest truth. But some people have. I'm not going to rule that out for them. Just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean it's not true. I never believed Bigfoot would grow to be 9 foot tall until I saw my first one. I never believed.
There's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that I want to touch on real quick with you. Let's get back to the whole color thing. Yeah. Because the first one that I've had 2 daylight sightings, and the first one that I saw was pure black.
Pure black.
From head to toe, round headed.
Yep.
Okay. The second one I saw with my binoculars, he looked like a freaking gray and white calico cat.
Yep. Yep.
And he was fuzzy.
Yep.
And he was hugging a tree. So I couldn't see his head, but So yeah, the color scheme out. I've heard of blonde ones,
Yeah,
redhead.
as
You
have
know?
I.
And-
Chester Moore talks about a silver one that he had seen before.
Yeah.
I don't know Chester Moore from down there in Texas.
Yeah.
He had her
So the
picture
color
back.
scheme. The color scheme. I mean, they're a little different than us or dogs or anything else. You're going to have different color hair. You just are. You know.
Some of them actually have splotched hair that's like, almost like it's manes or something else, to where they're black, and they'll have some white, or they'll have some patches of red or brown. I have seen that in them as well, and I actually have pictures of that too. So they're just not
that calico looking one that I saw. You know, I mean, he had it was black and gray and white, and I mean, it was like a damn calico cat. You know, one of those cats, but. I just and that threw me for a loop when I saw that one. You know, hell, the dog man I saw, he was black and had some silver in him or white. You know,
good Lord gives them protective coloration too, as far as because they're so good in their own environment, but yet they're 9 foot tall. You know, people will be trying to kill them or everything else, but he gave them a set of survival techniques that we don't necessarily understand on that, but that with them being that good inside their element. It's what they are. They're as good as in theirs is what we are in ours. And so with that right there, like I said, I bass fish, man. I won a lot of bass tournaments, won a lot of money. And you come to the time of year, the bass are on the beds. They're in a foot of water. You can be looking at a bed and the bass be laying right there, and you don't see it because of protective coloration. That's the way they keep them swooped down on from the top, or they're white on the bottom. So it's the same way. I think Bigfoot has that same way, that protective coloration, some way. We don't understand it yet. Again, but there's a lot of people who have hair and hair.
Yeah, well, and I've heard of male pattern baldness with Bigfoot.
Well,
so yeah,
well, man, have one we call Shrek. Man, he's as bald as he can be. And is it old age? Is it some kind of a deficiency in his diet? Whatever it is, right there.
Well, so he probably got a bunch of kids.
Well, sure, man. Yeah, or has one 33-year-old that's a dentist like I do, and then that'll be, you see, all mine is gone. COVID did me a number too, buddy. COVID did not make me happy. So,
hey, I'm right there with you, brother.
All right, buddy, I hear you. The Lord made few perfect heads, the rest he covered with hair. That's the same way.
That's it.
Well, I just wear a headband to keep all my flowing blonde hair under wraps.
My wife ago turned on my light. I told her to turn it off because it was going to blind y'all. I could see how bad it was on me, so I had her turn it back off again. But we joke about it.
Hair loss. Every once in a while, I have to go out with my hat so I can recharge my solar panel. So
there you go.
Hair loss is a fact with Bigfoot. That's a fact. I said the pictures are there. I've got one that looks just like Harry off Harry and the Hendersons. He's got a beard and a mustache. And I said Stephen and I have one we call Shrek that's just as bald as a bat, and we've got another one that's we got the top of his head, but I mean he's as bald as what we just showed right there, and we don't know what caused it. And like I said, it could just be age, So
this is another picture come out of Brown Springs. Now this is at the top of the cemetery. There's a barbed wire. I don't know if you've ever been out there. I don't think you have.
Have yet? Well, y'all know, sure haven't.
But we need to go. But you get on top of the cemetery, on top of the hill where the cemetery is, and there's a barbed wire fence runs back on the back side of it. Now, like I said, this is where this picture was taken.
Yep. I can see right there in the middle, right there, barely above that. That looks like that second or third strand right there, but hunkered down.
He's laying down on the ground.
Yep, and they do lay on the ground. Duke, you showed a picture a while ago. Looked like one of Duke's that he got off that deal there in Montana. But I've got a picture of that one, like I said, that was going to be in the Arkansas Arkansas Museum up here, and it's actually laying in front of my camera. When me and Stephen walked up, I told Stephen, I said, we got a skookum cast. And he goes, what? And he said, in the mud. I said, no, he's in the grass. We could see his body where he had been in there. Yeah. And like I said, we stabbed candy bars on a stick. And for him to get to it, he had to lay down, and you can see his body laying back away like that right there. You can see his knee. One knee is bent. You can see his foot. He's got his hand around it. You can blow up that picture of that hand, and you'll see all the fingers of him. And then, like I said, when you enlarge the eyes, you see the same thing. And I do a lot of comparison photography for my research and stuff like that. And there's a lot down here, whether they are apes, like I said, I don't know, but there's some that look like, but my wife found one on the internet there, and my gosh, you put them side by side and they look just perfectly the same.
Yeah.
I also found another one there that my friend got from Oklahoma there, and it compares so much with one of the chimpanzees from over there in Africa. It's one of the most vicious chimpanzees they got, but it looks so. His name's Michael Waldy. He's head of or was one of the recent founders of the Texas Bigfoot Rangers, and Michael's got 4 of them actually in a bush right there. But to see them, they're just so good, but they're hiding, and a lot of times they tilt their heads like that right there, so you're not getting just a straight on. I've got a picture a month ago of one, like I said, got his head tilted off like that right there, for whatever reason, but they do. So that comparison photography, and it will reveal some things about these things.
It will. Now, you were talking about, it's hard to believe these things get 9 feet tall or whatever. And I know a lot of people, they talk about this thing being 10 foot tall, 12 foot tall, and all this kind of stuff. And there's a picture that I've got that came out of Brown Springs that was sent to me that when I first saw it, I thought it was a big alpha male Bigfoot. We measured it. It was 13, 14 feet tall.
Right.
But since then, I don't think it's Bigfoot. I think it's whatever other phenomenon is out there.
Right.
Okay. But when you talk about these things being this big, I think the biggest problem out there is people don't realize what 9 foot looks like.
Exactly. Now,
I've got a picture here that is going to put it in pretty good perspective for people. Everybody knows Shaq and how big he is, right?
Well, he's 7'2" or 7'4", I can't remember, but he's right at 300. He's more than that now since he's quit playing basketball. I've looked that up.
Yeah. Now, here he is standing next to a life-size replica of Wadlow.
Yeah, world's tallest human being. What? 8 foot.
He was 8. Wadlow was 8'11".
Yep, and weighed 400 and something pounds just with all that bone structure. Yeah, look at Shaq there. Shaq's a big man. And you look at Wadlow right there, like the biggest human being that's ever lived, and Shaq looks like a daggum midget, So, so it is. This one that I told you that me and Daniel got that picture of. I went down there with a meter stick, and where this thing is standing, and it's 10.5 foot tall, and that's no joke. 10.5 foot tall. I didn't think Bigfoot was. I knew people weren't lying. I just thought, man, that's hard to believe. I couldn't wrap my eyes around. Your average ceiling in your house is about 8 foot. Well, take a look at that. 8 foot's plenty big, but you start looking at other stuff like that. Look at Wadlaw there. Or look at Manute Bowl, who used to play ball, play basketball. All these basketball players. America the world actually has a fascination with giants. But that's the thing about Bigfoot. They just discount that. Well, no, if they can grow that big, a polar bear can stand up on his back legs and be over 11, 12 foot tall. So why not? Why is there not another creature out there that can?
Well, I mean, they got Kodiaks that are 15 feet.
Exactly.
But, and I'm not saying these creatures don't get this big. I know they do, because we, like yourself, you went out there and you're taking comparison photos, and I think that's what a lot of these researchers don't do, and they really, really need to.
They do.
Go out there. If you catch a good picture, go out there as soon as you possibly can at the same time of day and take comparison photos. If you cannot recreate that, that's one aspect. The other aspect you got to look at is you can go out there and you can take a stick, and it ain't got to be a perfectly measured stick. Go out there and hold it up yourself.
Exactly.
That will give you some scale.
Exactly.
The same thing with footprints. If you're going to take a picture of a footprint, if you can't cast it for some reason, put something for scale next to it. I don't care if it's a credit card, a phone, a dollar bill, a pen. It doesn't matter. It still gives you some scale. Now, we found some footprints down there on the Red River that these footprints appeared within a 3 to 4 hour period. Okay. We had lines out down there. We were camped above the river, and we had lines set out. We were fishing. Our senior had some throw lines out, and we was going down and checking them every so often. And these footprints appeared during one of those periods that we were, between us checking the lines. Now, they weren't overly big. They were about the size of a 10 or 11 shoe. but they were barefoot prints.
Right.
Now, the river was up so dadgum high that there ain't nobody going to be swimming in it. We looked up and down all over, couldn't find any place where a boat had come up and landed. And if a boat had come up and landed, there'd have been footprints across the sandbar.
Yep.
To
Exactly.
where these footprints were. So, you know, you have to look at all that stuff. You know, all this stuff is going to help us. It's not just the picture. It's not just the video. It's not just the footprint. It's there's a story to go along with every one of them that will back what you have up.
That's exactly right.
You know, so, you know, we have to do our due diligence. And I'm as guilty as the next person of not doing it. Because I got to tell you, when I go out by myself, I don't take a lot of equipment with me. You know, I'm not trying to catch that $1 million photo or whatever, you know. And everybody, I think every researcher kind of has their little forte that they really enjoy doing.
Right.
Mine's audio.
Yeah.
I love freaking audio.
Yep.
You know, because one, I think if I've got a bunch of cameras set out, I ain't going to get a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
Because they may not see you when you set up the camera, but they're going to smell you on that camera.
Yep.
If nothing else, they're going to smell you on that camera and track it down, and they're going to avoid it. I can't say I've seen them do it, but I know they've done it.
Yeah.
In my camera traps.
I spray mine
you know,
the very first time before I put them out with that anti-scent spray, and then after that, that's it. The only time I handle them will be, whenever I change the cars. But even then, I try to watch some of it, especially if I'm really sweaty or something like that. But that's true, man. The size nostrils they got, they can stick their thumbs up in there. Why in the world do you think they can't smell you from a long ways off? You know, they do. That's one of the gifts the good Lord gave them in order to be able to survive being that tall. You know. And the ability to sit still. They could win a staring contest with Mona Lisa, man. I mean, just staring there, just staring at you. And I've watched it. I mean, I had one day, I know a good 8 minutes, and we call him Blackie. And it's up there where me and Stephen hunt. And I'm sitting there, and Stephen's over checking the cameras. I said, Stephen, we got a visitor. He starts looking up towards the trucks. I said, no, down here. And so I'm looking at Blackie, who's a big 9-footer. We have a good 7 or 8 minutes. The only movement Blackie has is just kind of that side-to-side swaying just a little bit. When he takes a step, it looks like Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. He takes one step back, and he's into the woods, and he's gone. Most amazing. This says CD Squatcher. We should try to debunk our own information. That we should let others. Sure, that's exactly when me and went. I got a picture of a gugway a couple of years ago that ran up on me the exact same day that we did Keith Crabtree's spring camp out. Me and my partner, he wanted to go back the next day. I couldn't because this gugway was not a happy camper, and as you know, so I only had a 40 caliber pistol. Then my son had ordered us a 45-70 rifle, but it came in the next day. So then we went down. We took over 40 or 50 pictures. My friend Randy Crawford, this is the man I went with. He's also one of my research partners. He has computer monitors on his desk. He sets 2 side by side, goes through and debunks all that stuff. If you can't debunk sometimes it can't be. Sometimes you've got to give Mother Nature. Okay, or just okay, and then sometimes it's just I can't explain this. Sometimes it's just occurring natural, even though it may be something that you have that's legitimately Bigfoot. But in order for us to have that credibility, we've got to be able to debunk ourselves. And go ahead.
You know, we do paranormal investigations also, and that's what you have to do. It's the same thing with paranormal investigations is with Bigfoot investigations or anything else. You've got to be your own worst skeptic.
That's right.
And just because somebody said, when I first got into it, and I had these pictures, and I'm like, it's right there, and you show it to somebody, I don't see anything. Right. You kind of get your hackles up, but I had to understand that's not the attitude I need to have. I don't need to get defensive. I need to go, okay, well, what if they're not seeing it, why am I seeing it?
Right. I had to have Sunday at Walmart, very same thing. I didn't get wound up with the guy. He just couldn't see it. For the longest, my wife couldn't see it, but then come to find out I've got 20/7 vision. That means I could be a jet fighter pilot. It's actually better than 20/20 vision. Well, she had about 20/30. Some of the stuff she can't see that I can, but I guarantee you, man, like I said, You take a look at like Bigfoot Mary Boland, friend of ours down here. She was actually Michael Waldy's partner and set up Texas Bigfoot Ranger. Man, she can see into the future with them eyes of hers, woman. She can see. And so they're there. But once, like I said, you teach people what you're looking at, it's like deer hunting. Deer hunting helped me a lot because you would be looking for shapes that are straight across instead of up and down in the woods.
Right.
And I started go to the dentist office or the doctor, get a kid's highlight magazine, as stupid as that sounds, a deal called Hidden Pictures. Get in there. Find those deals that don't belong, and you can train your eyes to where you can see a whole lot more like that. It's not just that, well, I'll never see them, and if you can't see them, like I said, sometimes you just write it off. Say, okay, I've got in my phone, I've got a thing called the almost file. I know it's there, but I can't find it. Sometimes I go back later to it and look in the almost file. And, oh man, there it is right there. Why didn't I see that before? Well, it's just,
and that's a double-edged sword too, right? Because
exactly.
A lot of these new researchers and some of the older ones too. I can't tell you how many times I've got sent pictures and they've got 20 red circles on this damn, and it's like, if you look at something, you're going to pick out, you can look at wallpaper and pick out a pattern of a face in anything.
Sure. And
you've got to understand that taking a picture with a dozen Bigfoot in it, I'm sorry, that's like winning the freaking lottery to me, one or two. Yeah. But I don't know. Just because you see a pattern and somebody else doesn't, it's like we were talking about.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that you didn't see anything, but maybe what you saw wasn't what you thought.
Sure. And you've got to be able to accept that as being a researcher. And
right.
If you, like I said, that's part of it. I've been called a liar, everything else. I've been asking what I smoke, man. I don't smoke or drink, and then they're like, well, where'd you see it? That's the first place that I ever saw the Easter Bunny, blah, 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 but you can't get your hackles up. Not everybody is going to see those things like that. And that's fine for me too. But if I can help them to see, and all of a sudden, I've got a picture here of a little albino baby here, and right beside him is, and he's got his hand on his mom's hand. Mama's fingers are right here, interlocked, just like this, fixing to pick him up in front of the camera. It took my wife forever to see it. When she finally did, she said, "Oh my gosh!" And that's our favorite picture now. And there's actually one standing beside it, like you said, kind of has the green tint to his skin, and that's not, you and I've been on y'all show I think once or twice. Last time was last August. We've never talked about the green skin before, nor have we done any other. So that's something right there. Again, that characteristic that we share information with, and that's the thing with Bigfoot. It's an always learning experience, and you've got to be able to accept. And something may happen one time that never happens again, and that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've got a T-shirt that I'm having printed up right now. Whenever we go and or getting the designs anyway, it says what you saw, and it's going to have a Bigfoot on there. You see that fleeting shadow going through there. Yeah. Well, man, you ain't crazy, neither am I. But what you saw, and it was there, and that's what ask people. Oh yeah, man, I just didn't know. I just can't believe what I saw. Well, you're pretty smart and intelligent individual.
You're talking about the Fouke and that area and the activity up there and everything, and the campouts. Pops, Gary Spike Sr.
Yep.
They were up there one time.
Yep.
And he had met this old gal, and this was the first date that he took her on, was a Bigfoot camp out. Yep. And
lasting relationship right there.
Right. Well, not only did he take her to a damn Bigfoot camp out, but something picked the corner of their tent up and turned it.
That tends to either get you another date or you take her home right there and let it go. Yeah, I know Gary, both Junior and I took Junior one time on his first experience around Fouke around there, showing him some places and things like that. And then this year when me and Stephen went to Land Between the Lakes, I'm sitting there with Senior, and we're talking about the noises they make. And I told Senior, said, "Did you hear that?" And we have one up there whistling at us on the edge of the mountainside right there. Well, then sure enough, that night something comes along, starts walking around mine and Stephen's tent. It's snowing 3 inches deep. Wait till the next morning, get out there and look, and you can see where some of those prints had actually been peeled back in by the snow. Yeah, those guys. Yeah, and Senior, man, they're just honest. They're just like we are, man. Just honest. Yeah. you know, then they ain't driving Mercedes and limousines, everything else. They're doing this because they enjoy it, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, that audio that came off of Senior's property is just amazing.
Up there in Oklahoma, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and, you know, remember text too, talking about audio, and I like audio. I like pictures and video too. But if you remember, what resonates with me is audio. And is this the same audio text? Remember, not when I had my experience, right? And then the scream and the yell. And then do you remember when Gary Spikes Jr. played that audio? Maybe it was last year. Do you remember the look on my face?
Yep.
And how I reacted?
Yes,
I mean,
do.
that, you know, if you were to call somebody out, and people do it all the time, I guarantee you that was like a lie detector, wasn't it, Tex? The way I reacted to that.
Yep. It tends to verify what you've heard and seen, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of terrify, you know, we got over an hour and a half going. We've gone over an hour and a half, but I do want to end the show on this. William, you mentioned there was 2 or 3 you had more violent encounters. Now, you know, we all have had our various experiences. Why don't you leave our audience with a really cool, not that a violent experience is cool, but why don't you walk us through one of those? Because I'd be interested in hearing one of those.
All right. Me and Randy Crawford had been down at a place called Thornton's Well on Mercer Bayou. And that's just not too far from Doddridge, down there about 6 miles, Doddridge, Arkansas, where I told you the lady that I've been going to her place, the thing's been scaring her horses and stuff. And so we find a track. And so go to cast it, and all my plaster repairs has been hardened in the back of my truck. Evidently, the lid had leaked. So anyway, that was on a Saturday. And so I told him, well, I'll just come back tomorrow and I'll cast it. And there was a pretty good dam on there that I felt like the track would last. So as soon as I get out of church that morning, I come and drive back down there, get my stuff, and I've got my black pit bull named Tippy. And so, man, I always buy her a bag of Cheetos. Man, she thought she was the coolest dog in all of Arkansas, you know. But I went and got her out, set her up, and hooked her clip on her, got my guns and stuff out, got out a bucket that had all the material I needed to go and cast this track. As I start walking down to cast this track, this Bigfoot screams, and he's up on top of the hill. And Tippy was a black dog. They say Bigfoot doesn't like black dogs. I don't know. I just think that they don't like maybe aggressive dogs or just whatever. Yeah. But anyway, as we're walking, I stop, and man, Tippy, she was as loyal as anything in the world. She would have died for me in just a heartbeat. But you could see the fear, and then the protection element came over. She went to walking back and forth across the road, sniffing and looking back to where he had made the sound. So we get down to where we had the track, and by then it had been muddy. Well, the dam had shrunk up to enough. I didn't have any kind of thing to put around it. I even thought about using my belt, but put around it so I could cast the track. I'm like, well, shoot. So we start to come back again. The thing screams again, and whenever it does, it has moved up there on the hill. It's actually has hollered at us 3 times, and so it has moved on top of the hill, and she's sitting there looking at it. And so as I realized that, I didn't know whether he was going to try some kind of a surprise attack or whatever it was, whether it was her or whatever it was. But so as I walked down there, and again, she was more bold, but then she was in more protective mode. I just took the fob on my truck, and because of that, because I was afraid for her and myself as well, and just started the horn honking. Well, I think that kind of threw him off there. We got back to the vehicle, and I opened my truck vehicle. She jumped across my seat and the console, and I've got a Z71 there at the same jump, and went over and just laid down in her seat like that. She was just, and so that was really, really scary, because from what I had, the track was about 16 inches that we had found the day before. And so to know that kind of creature, and it could, like we talked earlier about, maybe a rogue during that time of year, maybe he had gotten run out of his troop, nature's way to keep them from interbreeding. Maybe he got his behind whipped by another Bigfoot by trying to take over his harem. So that was really, really a scary thing. I called my son, who was at dental school in Memphis, Tennessee. And I called him and said, man, we just had a strange encounter down here. I said, it was bad. I said, he was up there hollering on the hill, and he goes, just go ahead and get my dog killed. I said, oh, he's going to have to kill me first, which he would have, because I'm just, but that was the last time that I took any of my dogs out to the Bigfoot woods after that, because it spooked me so bad to know that he had or he or she, whatever the Bigfoot was, had that kind of reaction and to me, and like I said, we've been there the day before. Me and Randy didn't hear anything, but whenever I got out with her, so it was very, very scary. So again, that's one of those things that I'm not out to kill Bigfoot. We got hogs, we got panthers, we got bobcats, we got everything in the world too. But then I'm not going to let Bigfoot kill me, my family, or my dogs on something like that. Sure. And so I'm glad that we came to a standoff. And I can tell you about that, and I've got chills on my neck right now, even as I'm telling you that story right there. So it is. So they're not teddy bears, you know. They can have bad days just like we do, you know.
Oh yeah.
And that's the case. Like I said, that's the reason that I go and that I go armed like that. But thankfully, most of the ones that I've had, 90% of the ones I've had have been just as nonviolent as they can be. They're just as curious about me as I am them. I said, or else I wouldn't take my wife with me, you know. And the day we had another one of the violent encounters we had that night, and I wouldn't let her go back the next day because I thought she was probably the catalyst, whatever it was. It was during the spring, about the time they would have, you know, maybe been having babies or whatever it was. But anyway, she wanted to go back with me after Easter Sunday 2014. It was the next day, and I wouldn't let her go back just because I felt like that thing was just off hormonal enough just to really come back and have a repeat performance. And that was either going to be with me killing him or else him, you know, hurting one of us. So it is, but that's a rule that, thank goodness, they've all been, besides those right there, have been the kind that really makes me want to go back. Now, man, I have respect for that creature. I don't care if I'm looking at him,
Yeah.
sitting there licking a lollipop.
Yes, for sure.
Big time respect, because you just don't know. But like I said, you don't realize also what 9 foot is. I'm 2 foot wide across the shoulders. These things are 4 foot and more. So look at your ceiling; it's 8 foot. Count one that's 1.5 feet or 2 foot taller than that right there. So that's basically it. If the fella that talked about the pictures, tell him if he'll email me, I'll send him a couple of those pictures if he wants to. And because I've done it, I've showed, man, golly, 200 to 300 people in person. You know, the ones just so I can still have control of those pictures to put in my book or whatever it is, you know, and to protect Stephen's interest in what we do. You know, because Stephen's really, it's like Udell. Udell took over Robert Dodge's stuff. Well, he's got that, you know, but he shows that and stuff. So whoever that, I can't remember who it was, but you know, if he'll email me, I'll be glad to send him a couple pictures if he wants me to. I can show him tracks, tree structures, I'll show him faces, whatever he wants to see. And I'm just doing this not for me because I'm no great Bigfoot hunter. I'm here to want people to believe these things are real. I said, we might get like some funding. We might get the next tip that you get from somebody who's had that front porch encounter might be the one that helps you get another encounter. So that's kind of where I stand on that right there. And $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee at IHOP. But still,
yeah, you know, if he responds back, go, yes, William, if he responds back, we'll certainly offer that out to him. And I think that's a good note to end it on because I got some things I need to do. And William, man, it's always great when you come on, right, Tex? I mean, I love when William, I think this is your 3rd time.
Well, man,
we always want you back.
I do. I appreciate y'all having me. I appreciate everybody who's here to listen, you know, whether they're skeptics or not. And I appreciate all our military people who give us this opportunity to do what we do. And the other people, the men in blue who protect us as well. So let me still give a shout out to them. Again, the people who listen, I don't take any of them for granted too. I know they had something else to do with their hour and a half, and I'm very appreciative of them being here.
Well,
yeah,
William,
we are too, and we
like Rob said, man, it's always a pleasure, and we're gonna have to get together, brother.
Hey, man, I'll go
sure.
Bigfoot. I'll go hunt Bigfoot to drop a hat. It doesn't have to be my hat. It don't have to be your hat. It don't have to be Rob's bandana. But you just name it.
Yeah, right. That's right.
we'll set it up.
That sounds good, guys. Thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it. Sorry for a little bit late there, but hopefully we've made up for it. And folks, like I said, I'm telling you,
when you do live shows, if those things happen, and you know, and Tex and I, we don't buckle. We work great under pressure, right? It's a pressure-packed industry.
Oh yeah, you guys can't your own without me, man. Y'all didn't need me here as far as that goes. So
well, no, man. We're an interview style show, discussion style show. And we just love it. We love all the guests we've had. We also love our people in chat.
Exactly.
And everybody's going to listen later and in the future.
Yep.
Thank you. Hey, Arden, you did a great job out there. I love the fact you're putting out everything. That's a fantastic job. I'm glad you're part of our little community now, taking care of business for us. And tonight, Jason McLean's Serial Papers. I don't know if he knows what's going on, what the subject is, but go on and check out Jason's Serial Papers on YouTube. He's he's always got something interesting on tap. And then Friday, remote viewing with Jessica Jones. That's at 9 Central, or excuse me, 9 in the East, 8 Central. And Jason's show is 9 Central. And next week,
Yeah, it looks like
we
they're
got
going to be talking about the Georgia grindstone bombing.
once again. Okay. And if anyone did not see our show last night, me, Tex, Jason, and I believe that was it. Oh, and the lovely Kristen Pate. We talked about that last night on Jason McLean Questions Everything. That was a great show. A lot of good reviews on that one. So go check that out. Subscribe to Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, Serial Papers, and Jessica Jones, Cryptid Huntress. With that, William Lunsford, once again, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have you back in another 3 months because, hey, it just wouldn't be the same without you.
Guys,
Thanks, everybody.
I appreciate y'all, man. I really do. I always look forward to it. Sorry it took this long. COVID got me, but it ain't got me now. So let me know.
Ain't got you down. Right on. And Tex, if you want to take us away, take us away.
We'll catch y'all on the flip side. Stay safe out there.
Appreciate it.